Welcome to the Community Partnership Network, a monthly telecast featuring volunteer, alumni, business, and community partnership activities in the New Orleans Public Schools.
Hello, I'm Glenn Sergent, Administrator for the Office of Alumni and Development. Some months ago, I received an email. Someone came to me and said in that email, you ought to go to this site because there's something very interesting going on. And so I went to that site and realized that I was looking at an internet-based yearbook. And so as I began to look at that internet-based yearbook, I said to myself, this is either going to be a very pleasant experience or it's going to be a very unpleasant experience. And to my surprise and to my pleasure, it was a great experience. And we're here to talk tonight about that experience with the editors of the yearbook. We have to my right, JoAnn Coleman, and to her left, Allen Kimble, members of the class of 1967 of George Washington Carver High School. And Allen, you told me that I mispronounced your name earlier. It's Allen Kimble, right?
Right, that's correct.
From The Fugitive.
That's
but you're not a fugitive from the class of 1967, are you?
That's correct.
Tell us about your internet yearbook.
It's fantastic.
It is fantastic.
Unfortunately, because of the storm, the hurricane in 1965, I think it was.
65 Hurricane Betsy.
Hurricane Betsy,
Yeah.
right. There was a great flood, and the school was flooded out. And the damage was so devastating that in the aftermath, we could not put together a yearbook. If we go up forward about 35 years, we're on the internet, and I happened to come across JoAnn, who I hadn't seen in all of that time. And she commented, what a horrible thing that we didn't have a yearbook. So I started thinking about it with my background in computers and said, why not we create one on the internet?
It was a great job.
Yes,
a really great job. And JoAnn, you began talking with Allen, correct?
Yes, I did. We emailed each other for a while, and then I decided I would give him my phone number. I said, let's call and talk. And he called me, and we started talking about the yearbook thing, and we made up our minds that we're going to go ahead and do it. And with some of the photographs that I had kept from my high school days and some information that we had gathered, we just decided we'd go ahead and put it up and see what would happen.
Memories.
Memories.
Fond memories.
Very good memories.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, memories that you think you forget about, but you don't. You remember them. And that's the best part about this. It's a good feeling. This yearbook gives people a good feeling.
Really.
At a time in our lives when we really need to have these memories brought back up. So I think it's something that people will really enjoy. They need to go over there and look at it.
Well, we have our computer screen here, and we're going to take a look at the Internet Yearbook. And right now what we're looking at is the title page from the yearbook. And is there anything you want to talk with us about on this title page, Allen?
It's an introduction. If you think that in terms of us having graduated in '67,
yes.
Our members have not, many of us have not spoken in all of those years. So we needed to put a powerful statement which would reintroduce, ourselves to them and to say, well, this is to replace that which we never had.
Now, for those Carver graduates who are not seeing you in, what, 33 years?
That's correct.
We have photos of you, right?
Oh, yeah, they're somewhere in there.
They're somewhere in there. Well, we're going to have to look for those photos.
Certainly.
I'd say, you certainly, I'll tell you, I've seen your photos. You look great. I mean,
Well,
you really look great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank
Allen, you look the same. JoAnn, you look the same. I recognized you right away. And the photos have been pulled up, and someone is bringing up a photo right now. Who do we have on the screen? Allen.
Oh, I know him.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, a handsome and debonair-looking individual.
Many pounds ago.
Many pounds. No, Allen, seriously now. And then we're going to have JoAnn coming up very soon on our Internet Yearbook. Now, to me, what I found interesting is when I began talking with you, I assumed that you were living here in New Orleans.
Right, that's
and now we have JoAnn. You were Miss Carver, right, JoAnn?
No, I was
Oh,
not.
JoAnn, you were so beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you could have been you could have been Miss New Orleans. My goodness.
Miss America, Miss Universe.
Miss America, clearly. But, you know, the thing that I assumed that you were living here in New Orleans.
Right.
And then you're living in Orlando and
That's
you're
right.
living in Texas,
In
correct?
Texas,
Denton,
Houston,
Texas.
Texas.
Houston, Texas,
Yes.
okay. And then I made another assumption.
Right.
I assumed that you two had not only talked, but that you had met and worked this all out. And until last week, it's the first time the two of you had met face to face in over 33 years.
Yes, that's
And you
correct.
put together this yearbook.
That's right.
Tell us how you did it,
Well,
using 21st century technology.
Absolutely, absolutely.
both of us were
But
experienced in computers, and we had the equipment. So I put my energy into getting the information by making trips to New Orleans, visiting classmates, getting whatever I can to try to put the history together in the photos. And Allen, of course, he did all the web
So
designing.
Allen is your webmaster.
Whoever.
Yeah, he's behind the computer and he's putting the things in here, all the photographs and all that technical stuff.
Yes.
And I do a lot of the legwork, and Allen also does a lot of editorial pieces over there. And between the two of us, though, we pretty much got it working pretty good to where we mix well.
Yes.
You know, and we do our jobs, and that's the results of it. Is what you see now on the computer.
you know, it's hard to explain to people what it's like if you don't have a yearbook, especially when you get to 30-something years.
Yes.
Because, you know, you've gone through life and things are not so important. Memories, relationships are important. You don't have a yearbook, you're not able to open something and you take a trip down memory lane. It's something we didn't have, and she felt it, and I read it in her words. And of course, with my background with computers, I said, well, why can't we just build one on the internet? So we started working with that plan, and it started to materialize. What has resulted is something that's even more fabulous than a regular yearbook, because it's a living, evolving yearbook. And you know, we've met with a great deal of
It's not like
success.
a hard copy, in other words. A hard copy, you have just that particular time you spent at Carver and pictures and stuff, and then that's it. This one continues on to show you reunions, and it also expands out into your family life,
Right.
your businesses. There's a business registry over there where you can advertise your business to your classmates. There's just so many different things. There's an area where you can go on Trivia Rams, where you can actually write articles or notes or letters,
It's
or talk
interactive.
about stories you remember from high school.
Well, JoAnn, you have a really great story on your internet yearbook. You want to tell us about your date, your prom date?
It's really,
And we're going to ask our webmaster to try and find that story for
I
us.
really feel bad about that. It was a last-minute date. I did not plan to go to my prom, and a lot of people said that I had to attend my senior prom, and a gentleman stepped up to the plate. He was very nice, and he invited me, and I did go, and it was a nice date. He took me to a lovely restaurant here in New Orleans, Dookie Chase. We had a great time, went out dancing, but I cannot remember his name.
So for those of you who are members of the class of 1967, and you happen to have the pleasure of taking Miss JoAnn out to the prom, give us a call. Call me at
Please.
365-5492 and tell JoAnn your name, because she wants to know.
And we can update our yearbook.
Speaking of updating your yearbook, you were on the site at 6:30 this morning.
Absolutely.
What were you doing?
I was putting information in an order that would be simpler for us to demonstrate here. That's the wonderful thing about this virtual yearbook, is the fact that it's evolving, it's growing. It'll continue to grow as long as information is put into it.
Yes. Well, it is great, and we're looking at some more scenes right now, and it's really a beautiful experience. I've thoroughly enjoyed looking at the yearbook and reading the stories, and Allen, you have some pictures. You have a section dedicated to the Vietnam veterans who came out of the class
Absolutely.
of 1967.
Absolutely.
Talk with us a little bit about that.
Okay, if we'll step back in time in the 60s, the mid 60s, the time we were in high school, the war was going on.
Yes.
And our
Now,
school...
we're talking about the Vietnam War as opposed to the Korean War or
that's correct.
one of the other many wars.
Yes, it's the Vietnam War. It was going on. Had a powerful effect on the high schools. The young men were being drafted. Ironically, it's the cream of the crop, you know, because the military were not taking slackers. So, you know, some of our best and brightest, not only Carver, but other schools, the young men were drafted and taken and, you know, went off to war. I myself, right after getting out of Carver, I didn't know what to do. You know, I went to school at Delgado, but I was drafted by the Army, and I was scared as hell. I knew I was just going to die or something, so I begged the Air Force. They allowed me to come in. I went to training, and next thing I know, I was in Vietnam. But anyway, I was wanting to make sure that we remember the effect that the war had on our class, so I created a section for Vietnam veterans. There's also a registry, because these guys should be recognized. These guys and girls, I should say. They should be recognized for their contributions to this country.
Well, you seem to have had a lot of support. A lot of people responded to your Vietnam registry. Isn't that correct?
It is getting better. It is getting better. Right. It is getting better. I've not put as much time on it as I want because of working with the total yearbook. But soon we'll have more time to actually be involved with that particular project, and I'm excited about it.
Well, that's great. That's really great. There are a lot of other sections that are appealing to special interests. I noticed, for example, you have something called the choir room.
Yes, yes. Well, what we did was, in order to encourage people to participate, what we did was we took things that are peculiar to the school. For instance, under the school there's a place called the Breezeway. It's beneath the school where we would assemble. We created something called the Breezeway.
Right.
The choir room, we created that so people who were involved in singing...
Now, the Breezeway is your message board, your general message board.
Yes, all of these are actually message boards.
Okay.
The choir room was created for people who were into the choir. They can go there and they can discuss things with themselves and reminisce.
Okay.
There's the band. So any of these places were created so that people can gravitate towards that particular area and they can communicate with each other.
And I had a chance to look at some of the messages, some of the reminiscing.
Oh, yes.
Saw one lady who talked about the choir room and talked about the choir director. What was her name?
She sure did. Let's see, who? Zenobia Stewart.
Zenobia Stewart.
Zenobia Stewart, a true professional.
A true professional.
Absolutely.
An individual who influenced a lot of lives,
She
not
sure
only
did.
in Carver, but a lot of other schools.
Absolutely.
I've heard of Miss Stewart.
Yes,
and
she
there's
was.
a great deal of talk about her and a great deal of talk about her influence on the students of New Orleans Public Schools.
Absolutely.
And what activities were you involved in as a
I was involved in gymnastics.
gymnastics?
Yes, and I also was involved in track.
Track?
Yes.
And I note that there's an athletic page.
Yes, there is.
A lot of athletic photos.
Well, we put everything up there, all the activities that you could do at Carver, so people could come over to their particular areas that they were involved in and, you know, find their classmates that they associated with at that time. Because, as you know, we had over 600 graduates for that year.
For the class of 1967?
67, that's
Fabulous.
right. And quite a few other classes during that area were pretty large. And 67 is not the only site that is up right now. There's the site.
Tell us about the other sites.
There's the 66 and 68. They were also affected by...
And you're also the webmasters for those classes,
Exactly, right. And they were also affected by the same thing that 67 was. They were not able to have a yearbook. So when they saw the 67 yearbook online, some of the members from those classes emailed us and asked us, could we help get theirs up on site?
Okay.
And that's how that got started. And then just through talking with administrative people from Carver and finding out that there was a lot of missing history, Allen and I realized that we just needed to try to develop all the sites for all the years.
Right.
So we went back to 64, and now we have site 64 through site 69 up.
Really?
Yeah, their
Yes.
sites.
Wow.
There you go.
And I note that we have a picture of Mr. Becknell there.
Yes.
Your principal.
Our
You
principal
talked
at the
about Mr.
time.
Becknell.
Yes.
He was quite a professional.
Great principal.
Yeah, he handled himself so professionally.
I thought he was fair.
You thought he was fair?
Yes, I thought he was a fair man.
And was he fair, Alan?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
I had nothing
pretty
but
fair.
good things to say about him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when we're about to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about Carver. We're going to talk about Carver as a school, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the internet website, and perhaps we'll have an opportunity to look at some of the other websites that you developed for other classes. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay tuned. We've got a lot more to talk about. Carver, the Internet Yearbook. Stay tuned.
While walking in a toy store the day before today, I overheard a crayon box with many things to say.
I don't like red, said yellow, and green said, nor do I. And no one here likes orange, but no one knows just why.
Well, I bought that box of crayons and took it home with me and drew with all the colors so the crayons could all see.
That each of us is special, and everyone's unique. But it's when we get together that the picture is complete.
What are you going to take?
Algebra.
Algebra. Algebra.
If no one's explained how algebra, geometry, and calculus can improve your future, demand that you be told. Call NACME. We'll tell you.
West Monroe, Louisiana. Matilda Crabtree, 14, jumped out of a closet and yelled boo to scare her parents, and was shot to death when her father mistook her for a burglar. Matilda was supposed to be sleeping at a friend's house, but decided to sneak home and play a joke on her family. Her last words were, "I love you, Daddy." Before you bring a gun in the house, think about it.
And welcome back. We're here with Alan and JoAnn, members of the class of 1967, George Washington Carver Senior High. And we were talking during the break about Carver and what a great place it was. And JoAnn, you were telling me that you went there of your own volition. In fact, you had to argue with your parents, discuss with your parents. Tell us about that.
Yes, well, I come from a large family, a family of 12. I'm the only girl, and I was in a house surrounded by guys, and it was mentioned St. Mary's, and I didn't want to go to an all-girls school. I wanted to have the mix.
Yes.
And we had family discussions, you know, quite often with that many kids, and we had a chance to voice our opinion, and at one particular time there I did, and my dad agreed with me,
Yes.
not my mom.
Okay.
My
now,
dad.
you had been in parochial schools heretofore, correct?
My earlier years, yeah, I
Okay.
went for 6 years.
All right.
I attended St. Philip and St. David
All right.
also.
Okay.
And then
so you
I
had
went
the
on to
parochial school
public.
background.
Yes.
And that was unusual for someone to make that kind of leap in high school. But
Yes.
you made the leap because, not because you wanted to go to public schools, but because you wanted to go to
Carver.
Carver.
And I went to Carver Junior and Carver Senior.
Okay, okay,
So,
great.
yes.
And it was what kind of experience was it for you?
It was good. I had a chance to express myself there, even though it was a large school. I was in sports, gymnastics and track, and also a lot of clubs. I participated in drama because that was my main interest,
Yes.
and I went on to do some things in that area. But Carver was a nice place to be. We had good teachers, good curriculum, a fair principal, and I'm not going to get into
new
that.
Facility, right?
Yeah, very,
It was
very
convenient.
new building. That was good.
State
That
of
was
the
an
art.
advantage, yes. So Carver was a good school for anybody to go to because they turned out some great people.
And Alan, JoAnn lived in the Ninth Ward,
Right.
but you didn't live in the Ninth Ward.
Right.
You lived in the
7th Ward.
7th Ward.
Right.
So thus you should have gone to another school whose name we won't mention. You chose to go to Carver. Why?
That's correct. I went to Jones School and Rivers Frederick, and my brother went to Carver. He was a Ram, and he'd talk about it. It was so exciting, just the things he'd talk about. And I had to make a decision. It was a kind of a tough decision, but I knew what I wanted to do because I had this set of friends that had come from elementary school and junior high school, and they would go on to that other school that you were talking about.
Yes.
Right, but I had to be a Ram, so I decided to go to Carver. It was good. It was good, and it's ironic because I've written an article, a piece on the website, and talk about the fact that I really feel sad because I only had 3 years to participate. Like JoAnn, a lot of these people went to junior high and senior high school, so they had 6 years, you know, being at that particular site.
Yes.
And just as things were beginning to open up and be exciting for me, I graduated and had to go off into the military. But it was very exciting. Everything was new and it was different because I separated myself from what I had known and took on something that was new and exciting.
And I remember Allen.
You remember Allen?
I remember
really?
him from high school.
Was
We
he
had classes together.
Big man on campus?
He was a quiet man on campus,
man
but
on
we knew him
campus.
for his drumsticks.
Oh, yes.
Were you in the band, Allen?
Yes, I was. I wasn't no good, but I was in the band, right.
And who was your band director?
Oh, Bush.
the
Yvonne
great,
Bush.
The great Miss
She was
Yvonne
great.
Bush.
She was great, but I was so bad that even she couldn't do anything.
Really?
But I played at it, though.
Okay. Well, I remember Carver High School at the time. It was really a great band, a great football team, a great basketball team. You know, just a really great school. And I talk with folks all the time who came out of Carver, and the kind of sentiments they express reflect the kind that you are expressing today. That it was a great place to be. Sometimes it was a good place to be, but always it was a great place to be.
Yeah.
The teachers were dedicated. The education was first rate. And you talk about, JoAnn, that you really didn't know whether or not you were going to go to college after you graduated from high school. But the teachers at Carver did what for you and helped you in direction?
Well, it was the teachers and a combination of counselors also.
Yes.
You know, I talked to my counselors from time to time, and they thought that I had the grades that I could go to college with. But it wasn't until some of my teachers selected me to run for Omega fraternity, and then we got to mingle with college guys and girls, and it was very impressive. I mean, they talked about how it was to be on a campus and away from home, and of course, the things that college people do and everything like that. And I started thinking, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I might like this. So that's what changed my mind, really. And I left away from home, went to California, and got my first taste of college at Sacramento State University there.
And so it was the influence of the teachers and administrators. It was Carver that sent you to college.
They changed my mind.
And changed your mind.
Yes, they did.
Well, that is so great. We want to talk a little bit more about the yearbook, because you tell us before the break that you're doing the yearbook for the class of 1967. But you're also doing the yearbook for other classes. And we have on the screen a picture of a Carver Ram. It comes from the yearbook of the class of 1967. Now, they have a book. So why would they want an internet yearbook?
An internet-based yearbook is it is something that that they can refer to that's much more dynamic. And I'm not criticizing a standard book, but this is something that is extremely exciting that they can get involved with.
It's
anywhere,
flexible.
That's right. Anywhere you are in the country, you can get to a computer that can get to the internet.
Yes.
You're able to get to the yearbook. They can actually write things in it. They can reminisce. They can give opinions. Members are able to get to the site, and they can communicate interactively. So, it behooves them. And this is exciting for people of that period, because they came up in a period when the technology wasn't there.
Yes.
So it's a very exciting thing for, them to be able to do.
Well, I remember growing up in the 60s, and for me, the computers were very much a science fiction kind of concept.
Absolutely.
And now to have computers in one's home and at one's desk at work, and to have so much access to that, and to have access to an internet yearbook where one can commune with friends and renew acquaintances and and update. And I note on your yearbook you have pictures of grandchildren.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We have grandkids over there. We have reunions over there. It's just a continuous type thing. It's not like he said, a hardback, because it just stops. You know, hard copies stop where you are, but this one goes on and on through the years. And I mean, internet's going to always be there even after we're not here.
Right.
So somebody else will carry that on. So that's what makes it exceptional, I think.
You know, one of the things we discussed was the fact that in 50 years, when we're not here, no one will ever know that there was a class of 67 at Carver. You know what I'm saying?
Because
they're the archives.
Because there was no yearbook. But now, because of your internet site, you've made history.
Yes. We really were concerned about that because everyone, I mean, if you look at the pharaohs, they built these monuments. They wanted someone to know that they were there. And we felt that same.
And JoAnn, I see a picture of you right now. Where was this, an assembly? A picture of you in an assembly with a number of people.
Oh, that was in the auditorium of class. Yeah, that was class night. That was in the auditorium, and I had that look on my face like, oh, what am I supposed to do now? So.
Yes, I wrote the caption beneath this photo because it typified all of our feelings. These were the last few days of us being seniors.
That's right.
And she had the look of, I'm not finished yet. I'm not ready to go.
I'm ready to leave. And believe me, I don't think I was, because I had so much fun. And the fact that it was graduation was steadily approaching us, I can remember going back to that day and not being ready for that. You know, but I was still happy that it was happening, but not quite, you know, ready to leave all my friends that I have made, you know, and it's kind of hard.
It was.
So, but it helped us move on to better things.
Moving on to your 35th anniversary now.
Yes,
in terms of reunion next year.
That's right.
That's correct.
That's right. You know, to me it's unique to hear that the two of you have never attended a reunion. So you're really looking forward to that 35th reunion.
Yes.
Why is that? Why is the 35th reunion going to be so special, aside from the Internet Yearbook?
We've both got our children out of the way. We have no children to worry about. At this stage, I think the important thing are relationships, friendships. You know, monies are not important right now. I mean,
just reuniting.
Yes.
Reuniting.
To be with friends.
Okay, well that's excellent. Now you were telling me, I imagine this is very expensive, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
The cost is great. I mean, people may think that you don't have to spend money to do this, but in correspondence, you spend money.
Yes.
Because you have to do mailings, which we have done mass mailings to classmates, literature. We've done a lot of literature we sent out, and of course communicating through the phone. You have a heavy, you know, long distance calling, conference calls. You know, we have to do that from time.
Absolutely.
Trips. I made several trips into New Orleans to get information. So yeah, it's costly.
Well, how are you paying for this?
Out of our households, but it must be done.
So your husband and your wife?
Yeah, have to agree. Exactly. They have to be behind us with their supporting us. Yeah.
Yes.
But you're looking for support, aren't you?
Yes,
Absolutely.
we are.
So tell us about that.
It was our intent that it always be a members-supported endeavor.
Okay.
So we're hoping that the people who are benefiting from it will get the feeling that they want to support it financially.
And you're asking them to support what now? I'm a Carver Ram from the class of 1967, and I'm looking at this show and I say, oh boy, I need to support that. But how do I support it? Tell me, how do we get in touch with you?
Well, we have on the site, we have address. And
what's that website address? And we're going to put it.
It's kind of lengthy to say in words.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, you would have to pretty much.
But if you'll call us,
it's http communities.msm.com.Carver Rams 67 year 67 photo album.
Yeah, you're almost right.
Almost right.
Well, one of those little things you don't have on there, you don't get there.
Okay, what did I miss?
Colon. HTTP://
Oh, yeah. Everybody knows about the ://
know everybody else.
But the point is, it's a very easy address to remember.
Oh, it is.
Well, all you have to do is remember what you're looking for.
That's right. But if they will get in touch with us, we'll put them on our mailing list.
Okay.
And we'll send them out cards, and we'll send them out newsletters.
So, Alan, what's your email address?
UNCHPOTENT@juno.com.
And JoAnn, your email
Mine's
address?
is much easier.
Okay.
jchall42@hotmail.com.
Well, I'm going to email you, Joe. His email address is much too hard to remember.
Understandable.
And so you're asking for a donation, a minimum donation of what?
Of $20.
$20.
Yes.
That's you know, what did a yearbook at that time cost? About $20, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I would imagine between 20
and $30 back then. Yeah.
So they're getting a bargain, aren't
yes,
they?
Yes, they are.
Oh, really? Really? So, you know, in these last few minutes that we have, is there anything you want to talk about? Is there anything you want to tell us? Is there a last-minute message? And more importantly, do we have that telephone call? Has our mystery date called in his name?
Yeah, well,
we're going to have to do an update. You're going to have to tell us.
I would like to hear from him. I can tell you that much and apologize. But no, the only thing I would like to say is that the yearbook started out as a thing that we felt like we needed to have. And we thought it would make other people feel good because we felt like we needed it. And I would just love for my classmates to come on over there and see what they're missing and find the people that they have not heard or seen in years and join us because it's a good thing. And that's what I'd like to say.
And Alan, last word.
Right. It is our intent now to establish sites for every graduating class from the beginning to the year 2000. And we're halfway there. We have about 10 sites for 10 different classes.
Alan and JoAnn, we really appreciate having you here. Class of 1967. Goodbye, folks. We'll see you again. Enjoyed having you here. Take care.
You.
Hello once again, and welcome to another edition of Working Together. I'm your host, Alfred Richard, and we're coming to you from the New Orleans Public School Studios at 4300 Almonaster Avenue. Well, it's the middle of the summer, and a lot of people are taking time for relaxation and refreshments for vacation. But not so for those working with the Fellowship Foundation. They're hard at work. Grew